Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest of our random drawing winner showcase videos for the 2018 Morrowind Modathon month modding competition. And once more, for those of you who don't know what that is, and I don't know how you don't know what that is yet, we've been, just talking about it for so long now, and this is our 4th annual competition. But I guess if you're just new to the community, you'll find a link to our announcement post regarding the competition down in the video description below here. But with that out of the way, today we're going to be focusing on rather exciting and certainly rather unique Frostwind, a camping survival mod by Merlord. And this is without question one of the largest mods we released so far for the 2018 Modathon, and it certainly presents a rather intriguing concept, adding a survival element to the gameplay of Morrowind, specifically relating to temperature and exposure and all that. And it all starts out when you activate the mod by going to Sedanine and talking to the Nord at the trade house here. He'll give you the Frostwind Crafting Guide and the Frostwind Survival Guide, which are not only books that you can read, but also act as tools to configure settings for Frostwind. But more on that in a moment. First, I would like to just, check out these books here, and they just, sort of explain all the new crafting items and features included in Frostwind here, such as how exposure works, and what you can do to stay warm, as well as how to craft, campfires, tents, stone axes, and so on and so forth. But moving on, we're next going to be checking out the Frostwind configuration menu here, and as you can see here, when you click on the book in your inventory or assign it to a hotkey, this menu will pop up with quite a few choices to choose from, including a settings menu where you can adjust the condition messages and set how often they pop up, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or 2 minutes. And personally, I'm going to be using the 2-minute settings here. And you can also disable or enable Frostwind as you so desire, and also set various compatibility features for swift casting and OpenMW, among other things. And now, one of the things that this mod does is add a few new items to various merchant NPCs around Morrowind, like firewood, bedrolls, and tents, that you can just purchase here. And these are important because, some regions are going to get pretty cold, and if you're stuck out in the wilderness, you might need to warm up with a campfire, and to use a tent to protect yourself from a passing storm, or what have you. It should also be noted that the armor you wear also improves your ability to stay warm, with light armor providing the warmest ratings, followed by medium armor, and lastly heavy armor. And anyway, moving on, one of the core features here, which helps you, keep track of your exposure and all that, is these periodic status updates that you'll see at the bottom of the screen here. And indeed, I've had to move the mod title to the top of the screen here in order for you to just see everything. But basically, with these status updates, you'll get the time, the current weather condition, your current exposure, and also whether or not your exposure is, rising or decreasing, as well as status updates like, getting wet and all that. And, it's important to keep an eye on this, because depending on your exposure, you may start to feel some negative effects, though your exposure will vary by region and weather conditions. For example, the Bitter Coast and Ascanials regions are fairly warm areas, so your exposure won't go up too quickly here, but other regions are a bit different, as we'll see in a minute. But first, I want to show off how to make a campfire, and this is actually done through the Frostwind Crafting Guide. Simply, click the Make a Campfire option here, and your character will spend a bit of time, just collecting rocks from the nearby environment to craft a fire pit. And if you have some firewood on you, you can add it to the fire pit here and light it, making a proper campfire. Now, campfires won't last forever, they will go out eventually, so to make them last longer, you can add some more firewood, and you can also use your campfire to cook some basic meals using a variety of ingredients. And doing so will give you a well-fed bonus, a boost in your endurance and fatigue, a nice counterbalance to the exposure, and indeed, cooking a meal may help you after you've been caught out in the cold too long. And now, as mentioned before, getting wet does increase your exposure, and there's a few different levels of wetness, including just general dampness, caused by a light rain or what have you, wet from walking through a pond, or just completely soaked from going swimming. Getting wet will increase your resistance to fire damage, but increase your weakness to shock damage, as well as causing your character to, get cold quicker. This is based on racial abilities to some extent. Argonians, for example, won't get any negative effects from getting wet, and you can also use the campfire to, dry off after a swim. And you can also get wet and completely soaked from a rain or a, thunderstorm. So you'll need to be careful when traveling out in certain weather conditions, like depending on region, you might find yourself catching a cold rather quickly, like the West Gash, Yogorad, and Azura's Coast regions are all a bit on the, nippy side. So just, general exposure to the cold will increase in those regions. while the Ashlands and Malagomur regions are, warmer, and it's pretty much impossible to catch a chill there, unless, from the rain. And the longer you're out in the cold, the more your endurance, agility, willpower, and speed will be drained, causing some pretty massive penalties if you're not being careful. And now to help prevent exposure, especially during a storm, you can set up a tent by dropping this, roll on the ground and unpacking the tent, which will place this third tent in front of you. And you can also create and, drop a campfire in the same way, adding firewood and lighting it. And staying underneath the tent flaps here and, near the fire will help you decrease your exposure over time and help you stay warm. And you can also drop a bedroll on the ground and sleep in it for the night, which will also, lower your exposure here, and to give you a well-rested bonus that fortifies your fatigue for the next 12 hours or so. And in this way, camping does become something of a vital element for survival in Morrowind, especially when you're caught, between towns during a thunderstorm and all that. And now, since we're showing off the various, camping elements of Frostwind, it's worth pointing out a few of the other, crafting mechanics here, namely the crafting of stone axes, which can be used to gather firewood from your environment. Now, unlike other mods out there, this isn't, so much a visual element with, required ingredients and all that, as it is automatic. When you choose to craft a stone axe, your character will just automatically spend a little bit of time, finding some sticks and stones to turn into an axe here. And likewise, when you equip and pull out this axe with the F key or, whatever your combat key is, a message box will just pop up here, asking you if you'd like to harvest some firewood. This is, again, automatic and happens, behind the scenes. You'll just lose a bit of time, and to find some firewood in your inventory when it's over. And as you might expect, Frostwind does also, cover Solstheim as well, and the temperature here will really start to drop, and you'll need to be careful when traveling this snowy wasteland for any prolonged period of time, because even with light armor, you're still going to feel the effects of the cold here. And, I have to say, I've just really been impressed with all the mechanics included in Frostwind. It's an amazing mod, even more so because it somehow manages to accomplish everything without using MWC or any external programs. It's OpenMW compatible, and it works perfectly with vanilla Morrowind, and with so many features, it really is the most, feature-complete mod of its kind. And this is clearly the best outdoor survival mod to be released for Morrowind so far, and certainly one of the better mods released for the Modathon. And it does remind me a lot of, the Long Dark, one of the numerous survival games on Steam, of how it, manages temperature and exposure and all that. But, before we conclude the showcase here, there is just one more thing to cover here, namely that this mod also incorporates blight storms, so that if you travel unprotected in a blight storm, there's a chance that you might catch a blight disease, and the best way to prevent this is to set up your tent, and to get in a bedroll to, minimize the risk of infection. But that's about everything, I think, and again, this is just a really impressive and just fantastic mod, and is definitely worth checking out, whether or not you're, a survival fanatic. And it really does, just add a new element to the Morrowind gameplay here, and a new challenge as well. Again, download links are down below, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time!